All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We still have some people joining. We will be sending out the recording after this, so if you miss anything, I've also got a few QR codes kind of throughout the presentation. If you miss any of that stuff, you will have access to it. So thank you all for joining. This is my Encore presentation from Inbound 23. I had a lot of fun at Inbound this last September. So it was the first week of September, got a lot of great feedback and questions and engagement, and thought it might be useful for more people. So here's our Encore. So today I'm going to be talking about how more doesn't equal better and how we can get back to marketing like humans. I'm Dustin Brackett. I'm the CEO and founder of Hive Strategy and Hive Hub, and the author of Market Like a Human. Hive Strategy is an inbound marketing agency and Diamond HubSpot solutions partner. Hive Hub is a fractional HubSpot admin service supporting HubSpot users and agencies to get the most out of HubSpot. I started my inbound and HubSpot journey almost 10 years ago. We became a HubSpot solutions partner when there was only Marketing Hub. A lot has changed over that 10 years, especially from a marketing perspective. If you don't remember anything else I say today, I hope you remember these 4 things. 1, treating people like dollar signs is the fastest way to lose loyalty. 2, people respond best when they're treated like humans. 3, the concept of bad leads is bullshit. And 4, quality is far more important than quantity. Today, we're bombarded with messages. Everyone's inbox looks something like this around every major holiday. It happens all the time. Huge sale, 50% off, limited time only. We get inundated with sales messages with the hopes that we'll somehow open that email and buy something, anything. These companies don't care about us. They probably don't even know that we're on the list that they're spamming. They're just sending us the same email that they're blasting to tens of thousands of other people. So I want to tell a quick story. As I was writing my book, Market Like a Human, it was around the holiday season. And as I was writing the book, I was looking for both good and bad examples of how organizations either embrace marketing like a human or how they completely ignore it and treat their audience like dollar signs. Throughout that time, I started receiving emails from Best Buy. So that's not out of the ordinary. I buy a lot of stuff from Best Buy. Over the last year or so, I've purchased a television, 2 monitors, a Mac Studio, Apple AirPods, a phone case, and a screen protector for my iPhone, all from Best Buy. I have a little bit of an Apple problem, it's fine. But after all of that purchase history, I still received 59 emails over 50 days. So for all the mathematicians here, that's more than an email a day for sales on gaming equipment and appliances and projectors and fitness equipment and pretty much anything else that had nothing to do with me or my interests. Now let's be real. Best Buy knows me. They know what I own. They know what I care about. And they know what I look at online. They just didn't care. Their only focus was to sell me something, anything during the holiday season. Had they sent me sales on Apple products or upgrading my iPhone or accessories for my devices and workspace, I may have been interested, but that wasn't the case. Instead, Best Buy spammed me with more than an email a day on things that I didn't care about, things that I didn't want to buy, and things that had nothing to do with who Dustin Brackett is. That is not marketing. That's spammy, sleazy sales. And we as a society are tuning those things out. We're unsubscribing and blocking and going out of our way to buy from anyone else. That is not marketing like a human. Having that kind of experience from a company that I've spent tens of thousands of dollars with just hammered home to me that we all need a wake-up call and that we need to get back to embracing human-centric marketing. And that's why I wrote my book. Market Like a Human is a journey of quality over quantity, authenticity over hype, effort over automation, and trust over everything else. It's intended to help organizations start embracing the fact that regardless of whether you market B2B or B2C, you're really marketing business to human. We have to connect, understand, and embrace the humans on the other side of our marketing campaigns. Throughout this webinar, I'll be talking about the pillars of the book and how you can start to employ those pillars at your company. I'll also be giving away 3 signed copies of the book at the end of this session. So scan this QR code here, and we'll be announcing the winners. I'll be announcing the winners at the end of this session. Give everyone a second there to get those scans in. So before I dive into the pillars, I want to take a step back and first acknowledge the problem. And to be honest, there are a lot of problems with our marketing and sales processes today. Like I talked about a few minutes ago with Best Buy, they were focused on dollars, not outcomes. They were only focused on selling me something. It didn't really matter what that something was, so long as they sold it to me. They weren't focused on me or the outcomes that these products serve for me. We all have to take a step back and realize that the benefits and outcomes that our audience receives vastly outweigh the dollars they spend with us. Next, far too many of our organizations still think that we have the power, that customers need us, that they're going to pick up the phone or request a demo or talk to sales or even stop by our location to talk to us about our products and services. Well, they aren't. Customers don't need us like they once did. They're doing their own research. They're finding the answers to their questions, and they're making purchasing decisions without talking to us at all. If you've been to any of the recent inbounds, you know that one of the big topics continues to be friction. And the amount of friction in our marketing and sales processes today is still too high. We're making our customers jump through hoops in order to work with us or even get valuable information from us. The organizations that are winning are the ones that are helpful and make the process of research, education, and purchasing as easy as possible. And that goes for gating content as well. It's funny, we as marketers spend a ton of time coming up with great content. We produce ebooks and white papers and infographics and research papers and calculators and tools and tons of valuable content that our audience needs. And then we gate it. We tell our audience that in order to get any valuable content from us, they need to pay for it with their information. Information that we'll likely use to spam the hell out of them. It shouldn't work that way, and it won't work that way moving forward. One of the biggest problems that we face is the fact that our society believes in quantity over quality. We believe that more equals better, so we focus on more. More website traffic, more followers, more emails, more. We believe that if we dump as many leads as we possibly can into the top of the funnel, something's bound to fall out at the end. Because it's a numbers game, right? But what good is more if it's more crap? What good is 100,000 website visitors if they aren't good fits? Or 10,000 Instagram followers if they're never going to buy from us? We have to start embracing quality and reframe our goals and KPIs to match. We need to understand that more doesn't equal better. And we shouldn't be in search of more. We should be in search of better. Better website visitors, better followers, better emails in our database. It's not easy though. The goals and KPIs that we're measured by aren't structured that way. They're structured in a quantitative way. Our C-suite and boards want to see more. They want to see all of our data going up and to the right. They want more visitors, followers, contacts in our database, deals, and revenue, because it's always been about more. But we have to take the time to adjust those goals. We have to take the time to educate our sales teams and C-suite and boards that more bad isn't good. That if we take our time, embrace the right audience, and connect with them on a human level, we can be more successful. We have to start being who our consumers want us to be. We have to be helpful. We have to be a resource. And we have to speak to their experiences, pain points, issues, and solutions. Not just focus on dumping as many of those people as we can into the sales funnel. See, we have to get away from the way Best Buy handled their holiday season. We can't just pump out sales content and hope that someone bites. We have to enable our audience to do their own research, find the solutions to their problems, and then help them make a frictionless purchase. See, all of this leads to the sales team yelling at the marketing team that the leads that they're delivering are bad, right? That's the ongoing struggle. Marketing is held to delivering a certain number of leads. Marketing does whatever they can to get those leads, delivers them to sales, and then sales says, these leads suck. Well, of course they do. We aren't taking the time to nurture. We aren't taking the time to vet our leads. We're simply pushing out content, and as soon as someone converts on anything, they're being thrown over the fence to sales. Yeah, a lead that subscribes to your blog is not ready for a sales conversation. And no, the person that filled out your top of the funnel ebook form, they're not ready to buy either. That should be obvious, but it isn't. We simply aren't fulfilling on the expectations of our audience. When someone fills out a blog subscription form, what should they be expecting to happen next? They should be expecting to receive notifications about new blog posts. That's it. What they get instead is a barrage of sales emails and phone calls, and it doesn't match up. None of that is marketing. It's sleazy sales. But we as a society are not really interested in marketing, though. We're interested in selling. So whenever we get a lead, we aren't taking the time to nurture that lead. Instead, we're hitting them with sales messages to try to get them to buy something as quickly as possible. Because we are in a patient society. We want that immediate gratification, but that isn't how our customers want to buy. So the only solution is to change the way that we market and sell. Okay, so now that we've got all the problems with marketing and sales out of the way, or at least the ones we have time for today, how can we start to embrace our audience and connect with them on a human level, starting with transparency? Transparency means sharing the good and the bad and giving the full picture. Let's be honest, our customers aren't just looking for information on how great our organization is. They want to know both the good and the bad. They're looking at reviews and testimonials, case studies, and anything else that they can get their hands on before making a purchasing decision. They want the tea, as my wife's high school students would say. By sharing the good and the bad, your organization not only becomes a transparent organization, but you also control the narrative. See, people are going to find the information that they're looking for, whether it's from you or from someone else. So get ahead of it and be the source of information for your audience, even if that information isn't necessarily good. Now, one thing that comes up all the time when I talk about transparency is pricing. I hear, Dustin, do I really have to have pricing on my website? And I always answer with, well, put yourself in the shoes of the consumer. How do you feel when you're looking for pricing for a product or a service and can't find it? I think we can all answer this together. It sucks. I don't understand why we keep pricing a secret, why we still require a demo or someone to talk to sales before we give them any pricing information. And I hear the objections of, well, we don't have straightforward pricing, or my competitors might find it and try to undercut me. So what? If you don't have straightforward pricing, share a range or a calculator or some information that would impact pricing. And if you're worried about your competitors finding out your pricing, trust me, they already know it. Stop hurting yourself and your audience by keeping pricing a secret. We all need to know whether or not a product or service fits into our budget. If someone has a Honda Civic budget, they're not going to be interested in your Lamborghini solution. Trust me, your sales team isn't that good. And finally, answer the questions your audience is asking, even the hard ones. Now, if you've attended any inbound ever, pretty much, you've probably attended a session by Marcus Sheridan. But if you haven't, let me share his story quickly. So Marcus owned a pool company. And when the recession hit in 2007, they were on the verge of bankruptcy. As he tells it, they lost $250,000 in 24 hours of the market crash. So Marcus had a decision to make. He could either file bankruptcy and close up shop, or he could change the way that he embraced his audience. He chose the latter. He started his They Ask, You Answer methodology, which is a great book, by the way. I highly recommend it. He started answering the questions that his audience was asking, even other companies in his industry wouldn't touch. He talked about price and maintenance and issues and installation and pros and cons and pretty much everything in between around fiberglass pools. So what did it do? It made river pools float to the top. They started becoming the source of information for their industry and still are today. They embrace the fact that people have questions and they're going to find the answer one way or another. But if you can be the source for those answers, you build trust and become the go-to solution for your audience. Transparency is important in our marketing. It builds trust and it will make or break your campaigns. The next pillar is personality, and I don't think it gets talked about enough. Organizations seem to shy away from the fact that they seem to shy away from having a personality, like it makes them vulnerable or something. So what we're left with is the same message and language coming from every single company in an industry. They all look the same, sound the same, and act the same. Who's excited about that? No one. It's okay to be different. It's okay to embrace the personality of your team. And it's okay to be who you are. It resonates with your audience, and it becomes the way that you're perceived. You can be fun. You can be sassy. You can be buttoned up. You can be edgy. You can be funny. You can be whatever you want to be, regardless of what industry you're in. Just embrace it and own it. One of the best examples of this came from a conversation that I had with Chris Savage. He's one of the founders of Wistia. When I talked to Chris, he told me a story about how adding some personality to their company's About Us page landed them on the cover of Hacker News. So on their About Us page, they built in a secret feature that when you go to the page and type dance, music would start playing and the pictures of their team would start moving and dancing. Chris explained it as, the About Us page has zero to do with our product, but it has people on it. That was enough to hook people such that they would spend some time with the website, with the brand, trying to figure out what the product was. And we got customers. See, they weren't worried about fitting a mold or trying to fit in with the other companies in their industry. They were themselves. They embraced their personality. And if you know Wistia, you know that they're a fun and energetic brand. By embracing that personality and adding something fun to their website, they engaged with their audience and even closed new business because of it. The thing with personality, though, is there is no one-size-fits-all solution. You have to determine who you are and who you want to be. If you're goofy, be goofy. If you're straight edge, be straight edge. If you're edgy, drop a tasteful F-bomb here and there, if that's who you want to be. The point is to embrace who you are and share that personality in everything that you do. Throw away the cookie cutter. You're not meant to fit into a mold. Now, you can embrace personality in a variety of ways. So one of the ways that we've embraced personality at my agency is through humor. So I have an almost 2-year-old daughter, and I've fully embraced my dad joke energy. I have years of dad jokes saved up for her, and as soon as she's old enough to be embarrassed by them, I can't wait to unleash them on her. So a few years ago, we decided that we needed to be a little different. We recognized that we're not in a life or death industry and that we have a lot of fun and creative people on the team. As we were building out our website, we decided that we wanted to build out a chatbot, but not just any chatbot. We, of course, wanted it to answer people's questions, help them find the information that they were looking for, things like that. But we also wanted it to be fun. So we added a tell me a dad joke option. And it was by far our most trafficked option. We even had prospects and customers commenting on the dad jokes throughout our sales process. It was a fun way for us to embrace who we are. And we're a little goofy and a little corny and a lot of fun. And we've even carried those dad jokes over into our monthly newsletter because everyone needs a good dad joke to start the month, right? Another way that you can embrace personality is through competition. So Wendy's has been famous, or maybe infamous, for this kind of personality through their social media. No competition is safe from Wendy's. And this is one of my favorites here, where McDonald's obviously had a tweet saved that wasn't ready to go out, but some intern must have posted it on accident. And Wendy's didn't hesitate. One of the local examples that I loved and took notice of was at a TGI Fridays by my house. So this TGI Fridays shares a parking lot with a Chick-fil-A. And I was in the mile-long line at Chick-fil-A, getting a little irritated and maybe a little hangry. And I look across the parking lot and see this banner hanging from their building. What a great way to connect with the pain points of your audience. I was absolutely getting annoyed with the time I was spending in that line. And this banner made me feel like TGI Fridays understood that pain. Now, to be fully transparent here, I never really considered TGI Fridays much for dinner. I'd been there a few times, but it was never like at the top of the list when my wife and I were deciding where to eat. But after that banner, I'm well aware that they're there, and we've been there several times since. Of course, all of this comes with a warning. Being overly aggressive or disrespectful will have consequences. So be careful if you go this route. Now, regardless of what you embrace as your personality, it's important to incorporate empathy into it. Empathy should be a non-negotiable. You need to understand not only what you know your audience is going through, but what they may also be going through privately. One of the worst examples I saw of this was from an expectant mother campaign. And this one definitely hit home because I do have a young daughter. The campaign had good intentions, as most of our campaigns do. It was meant to help engage with the family and the expectant mother and share insights and information that they needed for their pregnancy and birth, and then sharing the joy of the new life coming into the world. All good things. The problem was they didn't have empathy for the fact that 10 to 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. It's an awful statistic, but it's a reality. And they leaned so far into automation that they didn't take that into account. So around the due date, they sent out an email campaign welcoming the new life into the world and congratulating the parents. That was great for the 80 to 90% that had happy births. I'm sure it was a great touch and really made the parents feel loved. But what about that 10 to 20% that didn't? It was probably one of the most scarring and hurtful emails that they've ever received. See, they leaned so far into automation that they completely forgot about empathy. There's a fine line, but when in doubt, be empathetic over trying to save a little bit of time. All right, next is authenticity. And it really does go hand in hand with a lot of the other pillars, but it's so important to building trust with your audience. Regardless of whether or not you're making explicit promises in your marketing campaigns, your audience is perceiving promises, and they're paying attention to how you follow through. See, all of our marketing campaigns make promises. While my agency doesn't explicitly promise certain results, there's an implicit promise that as a reputable agency, we're going to follow through and produce good results. The same is true for every one of your businesses. You're making promises. How are you following through? You can't be an authentic and trustworthy brand if you're not following through on your promises. Now, authenticity is more than just following through on your promises, though. That's table stakes. It's about being who you are every single time and in every single situation. One of my favorite examples came from Kraft. So Kraft is known for a lot of products, but at the top of that list has to be Kraft mac and cheese. They have a very obvious audience of families and mothers and children, and they embraced who they are as a fun and engaging and family-oriented brand with their Swear Like a Mother campaign that they ran for Mother's Day in 2017. They ran the campaign with the author of the book, Holy Shit, around the fact that they say that 74% of parents have sworn in front of their kids. I'm definitely part of that statistic. I know, you're all shocked. But it was very on brand for Kraft, and it hit home with their audience. They made boxes of macaroni and cheese in the shape of Mother's Day cards, and even included earplugs that they called fail-canceling earplugs that were in the shape of macaroni noodles, of course. See, Kraft not only embraced their personality, but they were also unapologetically themselves, and their target audience loved it. Other ways to embrace personality are by getting involved in social issues and causes. HubSpot reported that 45% of businesses are focused on increasing their social responsibility in the next year. We aren't just brands anymore. We're organizations with a platform, and we need to use that platform for more than just dollars. Our audience expects us to get involved. They expect us to care about something. Our customers are gravitating towards the organizations that help and support and grow our communities. Now, that's not to say that you should pick up a social cause in order to sell more. What I am saying, though, is that using your platform for good will paint your organization in a great light and support your overall brand goals. Not only are businesses celebrated for their social activism, but they're also celebrated for being human. People understand that humans aren't perfect, but far too often, businesses try to project this perfect image. They only say and do the right thing at the exact right time. And that leads to a lot of safe marketing and messaging. There are no risks taken. There are no attempts at anything that may not go perfectly. But the truth is, our audience applauds the effort and the willingness to try and fail. And that comes through in going live. See, when live streaming became an option on most social networks, everyone and their dog was going live for anything and everything, it seemed. But after that initial infatuation wore off, businesses stopped going live. There was too much risk of a mistake, so they decided it wasn't worth it. Things can go wrong, and so most businesses said it's not worth that risk. But that's also opened up a huge opportunity to stand out. See, social networks want you to go live. They want you to use that tool. And with so many organizations not doing it, there's a ton of market that can be captured. So take the risk. Even if you make a mistake, your audience will applaud and appreciate the effort. Next, I want to talk about consistency. In marketing, showing up when, where, and how you're expected to show up is a vastly underrated skill. There's a famous quote that showing up is half the battle. I think that's never more true than in marketing. The consistency of your brand, your content, and your messaging can really make or break the way you're perceived by your audience. By having consistent styling and logo usage, color palette, messaging, and overall tone, voice, and tics, you start to build trust with your audience. They know what to expect from you and when to expect it. Now, Consistency sounds great, and everyone understands it. But in practice, it's so easy to have it fall off. It takes a lot of work and planning and preparation in order to be consistent. Nothing happens overnight. So you have to work at it day after day, year after year, in order to build that consistency that your audience and search engines can trust. So keep going. It's important to your brand and to your audience. Being helpful to your audience really should be a primary goal of your marketing campaigns, regardless of your industry. So back in 2019, Brian Halligan, he's one of the founders of HubSpot, stood up on the main stage at Inbound and unveiled the flywheel. So it may have felt a little silly when he first unveiled it, but it really did change the way that we think about our buyer's journey. And it really is replacing our sales funnel. It used to be that we dumped as many leads into the top of the sales funnel as we could and hoped that something came out at the end. Instead, now we look at the buyer's journey as a process for our audience to be engaged, nurtured, and delighted as they work with our organizations. The problem, though, is that each person in our flywheel has different problems and needs and questions. So if we aren't creating content and answering those questions throughout the buyer's journey, we aren't supporting them or being helpful for their process. And as we help to nurture our leads through their buyer's journey, we have to create a crystal clear picture of who they are and what matters to them. So I'm sure that most people on the webinar today are familiar with the concept of personas, right? They're really intended to be semi-fictional representations of our ideal customers. I think we need to go significantly further than that. We need to start thinking about the person, not just the persona. That means really starting to understand and get to know the people in our flywheel and customizing their experience to match their needs. That means being helpful in a way that these people need us to be. And that means creating content for every stage of their buyer's journey and creating content in a variety of formats and lengths and mediums to support their research and decision-making process. Now, last year's Inbound was all about community and how there's a crisis of disconnection happening in the world today. If there's one thing that the pandemic's taught us, it's that we need our communities. We need to be connected, and we need each other. But with so many of us working remotely, we're more disconnected than we've ever been. We don't engage with our customers and coworkers or even friends and family like we once did. There's a sense of loneliness in the world, and our brands can help to fill that void. See, we all have an audience, and they have similar interests and needs and pain points. By connecting them and creating a community around your products or your services or even your industry, you give them the ability to connect and grow and learn from each other. You give them a safe space to engage and be part of something bigger. Somewhere they can get their questions answered, answer questions, find solutions, and even give and receive feedback. Sure, it's easier for some brands than others. I get that. Peloton's a great example. So when the world shut down because of COVID, Peloton blew up. They were able to leverage their Facebook group with workouts and tips and tricks and content, and even just an open forum for people to connect. But the thing about the Peloton group is it's not about buying a Peloton or subscribing to their classes or even referring other people to buy. It's about people with a common interest connecting and supporting each other. So when you're creating a community, though, you're going to encounter both good and bad feedback. You need to have a plan to handle everything that comes in. That means engaging with your audience as they ask questions, encouraging them to get involved, and even handling some potentially bad or ugly comments that may come up. Just like I mentioned in the authenticity pillar, being willing to try and open yourself up to scrutiny is valuable in the eyes of your audience. Just have a plan for any of those ugly things that may come up. So now that we've talked through the market like human pillars, what are some of the solutions to those problems that we started with? First, we need to reframe our marketing campaigns and initiatives to connect with people rather than to sell to them. Marketing is meant to be helpful and educational, not sleazy and salesy. But with our quantity-focused goals, we're stuck in a cycle of throwing every lead over to sales, whether they're qualified or not. We need to reframe our goals and KPIs to focus on quality over quantity. And that's going to take a lot of innovation internally with our marketing teams and sales teams, C-suite, and even board members. It's going to take effort and work to get that buy-in. But we have to reframe what we're trying to accomplish and put our audience and their needs at the center of everything that we do. Back to the flywheel. Because at the end of the day, we're all educators. We aren't marketers for insurance agencies or software companies or mechanic shops or schools or grocery stores. We're educators above all else. And it's time that we embrace that. Because marketing is not about tricking, manipulating, convincing, or persuading people to buy. It's about empowering them to find the right solutions for their specific needs, even if that isn't us. See, if we're educating our audience, they'll find the right solution to their problems. And if we're taking the time to get to know the people behind the personas, we'll be able to identify and nurture the right fits into sales qualified leads for our sales team. So how do we go about being educators, though? It all starts with creating regular educational content. Now, I always recommend to my clients that they put out 50 or more pieces of educational content per month. That may sound insane, but that should be a mixture of social posts and blog posts, videos, website content, articles, ebooks, podcasts, and any other kind of content that resonates with your audience. You have to have educational content for each person in your flywheel in order to be that helpful and trusted resource. And as you're creating that content, you need to think strategically about what will and won't be gated. Now, I'm not opposed to gating content, but I am opposed to gating all content. You can't be helpful if you're focused on your audience giving you something in return every time. Now, super in-depth content like research studies and tools and templates, things like that, can absolutely be gated appropriately. But the amount of information that you're asking for should be in proportion to the value that your audience receives. Your goal should be to be a helpful resource, not to convert every single person into a lead. Again, quality over quantity. And as you're generating those leads, you need to be thinking about how you can nurture them with more valuable content for each stage of their journey, not just shooting them over to sales. Take the time to get to know your leads, what they care about, and what issues you can help them solve. By doing that, you'll build trust and credibility that will make a sales conversation down the road so much easier. And finally, embrace every tool at your disposal. AI is a huge topic right now, and there's a ton of power behind those tools. But there's also a major risk of abuse. So while I was at Inbound this year in September, I actually had a guy come up to me at our booth that was bragging and like beaming with joy and pride around the fact that he said that he was able to use AI to fire 2 people. That's not the purpose of AI. AI is meant to be used in addition to your team. It shouldn't be used to eliminate anyone on your team or their responsibilities. It's meant to make your work faster and better and easier. So don't fall into the trap of thinking that AI can replace your team. I had a conversation with Paul Raitzer of the Marketing AI Institute that was pretty eye-opening around this. So his entire business is all about how to incorporate AI into marketing initiatives. So I asked Paul, how do you incorporate AI into your own marketing initiatives? He said that they run a marketing AI class all the time. I think they do it every couple weeks, and they have hundreds of attendees at each session. Here's what he said about their follow-up process. He said, someone on my team reaches out to every person who registers for the events personally on LinkedIn to thank them for attending and to offer support and answer questions. We do it all manually with no AI involved. We're able to do that because we use artificial intelligence to take other tasks off of our plates to free up time to have that very human interaction. See, they use the tools at their disposal to run their marketing campaigns efficiently so that they can still have a very human-centered approach and engagement. Because regardless of whether you market B2B or B2C, you're really marketing business to human. There are human beings on the other side of your marketing campaigns, and it's time that we embrace them. We've created a Market Like a Human activity guide that you can use to implement a more human-centric approach to your campaigns. You can scan this QR code here to download that. We'll also include it in the follow-up email. But I encourage you to put these core pillars into practice and to connect with your audience on a human level. Now it's time to announce the winners of our book giveaway. So, and I very much apologize if I butcher your name. So, and I'm going to. Anna Obuchina, Taylor Glenane, and Laura Dolan. I'm confident in that last name. I'll send you all an email after this so that I can get your addresses and get your signed copies sent in the mail. So I'd love to connect with all of you after this webinar. Please feel free to stop by any of our websites. So that's hivestrategy.com, gohivehub.com, and marketlikeahuman.com. You can shoot me a tweet or an X or whatever Elon's decided that we're calling it today, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I appreciate you all taking the time to join the webinar today. Thank you so much. Laura has the same lamp as me. So now I'm going to look into some Q&A in the chat. Michelle asked, how can we purchase your book? You can go to marketlikeahuman.com. It's available in Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook. So feel free to check all of that out. You can get samples, all of that. We had a question of any advice on how to get the higher ups on board with switching to humanistic marketing. I think it's honestly about the data, like the process of like quantity focused, and we're just going to dump as many people into our sales funnel as we can. It is becoming more and more ineffective, right? People are tuning out those messages. People are not engaging the way that they did even a year ago. And so I think we're able to look at the data and say, hey, this approach isn't working. We've got to start connecting with these people and really tying our marketing metrics back to sales success. So instead of just looking at website visits and number of followers and like all of these vanity metrics that don't really have a way to tie to revenue, we should instead be looking at like meetings booked and sales qualified leads generated and like number of people that have gone through nurture sequences. I think that what our C-suite on our boards really care about are dollars. And if we're able to attribute dollars to our marketing campaigns, that's the best way to get everyone on board. And I think that comes back to that quality perspective. Like we don't need our sales team to be on 1 million phone calls with nothing to show for it. Or like sending a million leads over to our sales team for them to follow up with that they just get ghosted on. What we need is good conversations, meetings booked, deals created, closed won revenue. And I think if we can really kind of sell that piece of it, we can get everyone on board. Michelle asked about slides. I will definitely include the slides in the follow-up email to this. So don't worry about that. If you were trying to take screenshots or I was going fast or anything like that, you'll absolutely have access to this. It looks like those were all the questions. Also, if you have any other questions that come up afterwards or like as you're talking to your team, please feel free to shoot me an email. My email is dustin@hivestrategy.com or dustin@marketlikeahuman.com. Shoot me an email. Happy to help. Happy to talk through any of these different pieces. Would love to hear from you. Well, thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you next time.